All right, guys. So I'm out here on the water today, of course, and we are doing the follow-up casting video for the DK200 Monster Daybreak 200 sized round swim bait reel. Now, just a quick recap. I believe this is supposed to be a 1-to-1 replica of Shimano's Conquest 200. It has an all-metal construction. It has a massive 37mm, really deep spool. It's got a massive, at least 100mm, if not more, handle. But one difference between this and the Conquest is that this is using magnetic brakes. So I have the Monster Daybreak mounted on my iRod Genesis 2 Junior swim bait rod, 7'8", and I believe the lure rating is from 1 to 4 ounces. So I'm going to cast a couple of what I consider average size swim baits around, and we're going to check out the performance of the Monster Daybreak. Now, coincidentally, I have the reel spooled up with 15-pound line, and I hope that's heavy enough. Seems kind of thin. It's monofilament, and unfortunately I was not able to find my line counter in order to see just how much line fit onto the spool, but let me tell you, it was a lot. But what I will try to do is, after probably some really long casts, I'll show you guys how much line is left on the spool. So let's get started. Now, real quick before we start casting, I just want to say that even though this reel is pretty heavy at almost 9.5 ounces because of its all metal robust construction, on this 7'8" junior swim bait rod, it's still kind of tip heavy, so it's not a brick of a reel. And I don't know if you can see, but it palms really good due to the imitation S compact design that the Monster Daybreak copies from Shimano, where the palm side plate is smaller. Right now, feels real comfortable to palm. Not quite as small as the Conquest BFS, but I believe this is supposed to have the same palming feel of the previous generation Conquest 100. And I'm going to leave a link pinned at the top of the comment section where you can get your Monster Daybreak from Don Coon Fishing. You'll be really shocked at how affordable it is for how much reel you get. And yeah, let's get started. So the two swim baits I'm going to be throwing in this test are these. Now, the first one is going to be a paddle tail type swim bait, the Jackal Dunkle 7-inch. According to the package, it weighs 2.1 ounces. And then we have the Berkley Nessie 9, which is looks like a soft glide bait. Interesting. And according to the package, this weighs 2 ounces. So these two baits, probably what I would consider the limit on what you could throw with bigger capacity standard bass reels, maybe like CURADO 200 or maybe even BANTAM 150. But anything over 2.5 ounces to 3 ounces and up, you would probably have to invest in more focused, dedicated swim bait equipment, like maybe a CURADO 300 or the new Tranks 300 and a heavier rod. But anyway, let's get started with the Jackal Dunkle first. All right, so we got our Dunkle tied on, and I have to say, it feels like we are probably at the limit of this rod's ratings. Now, I'm a novice when it comes to dedicated swim bait fishing, and I'm sure the rod can handle more, but wow. But the clutch of the Monster Daybreak can handle it. For those of you who received your DK200s and you notice that the clutch activation is heavy, that's because it is made to withstand lures like this. So now that means we got to set up our reel, and that means I'm just gonna leave a little bit of side-to-side play, adjust the clicking spool tension. All right, so I'm gonna back it off one click. All right, so just a hair side-to-side play, super fast fall. And remember, the magnets inside go all the way around the brake hub, not just one side, so hopefully we'll get some nice free casts. And luckily for us, even though it's kind of on and off raining, there's hardly any wind. But I'm going to turn the brake dial not quite to maximum, probably a quarter turn from maximum. All right, I'm going to start off with just an easy sidearm cast. Now the question is 15-pound monofilament, and I put the diameter of this line up on the screen for all you swimbait guys. Is it enough for lures this heavy? And I'm watching the Dunkle come in. Oh man. I know you guys can't see it, but it's just got this enticing wobble. But cranking in this 2.1 ounce paddle tail swim bait is easy work for this monster Daybreak. Let's do another cast. So yeah, this reel's got a lot of power. It feels like there's no resistance on the line at all. Now usually with paddle tail swim baits you'll feel some resistance, but wow, this thing's got a lot of power. Now supposedly, I don't know the answer why round reels are supposed to have more power than their low profile counterparts. And also a lot of people ask me this question in the comment section, what gear ratio this is. It is, I believe, 6.8 to 1. Yep, 6.8 to 1 gear ratio. So if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty fast for a round reel. Once again, I don't know why, as we have, you know, low profile reels that have like 9 and 10 to 1 ratios. But on the current brake setting, we're having 0 issues with line control. So I'm going to turn the brakes down just a little bit more. Oh crap. I guess I turned it down too much. Maybe I got too much line spooled up, but luckily it's not a bad one. I hope not. And here is one of the issues with getting a backlash on a round bait caster. Because of the top frame, it covers part of the spool, the little window that you can stick your finger and thumb in to clear out any backlashes is pretty limited. All right, let's hope I don't get snagged. This place is, yeah, I'm snagged already. That is incredible. This place is snag city. And breaking this line off is gonna be an issue. Might just have to cut the line and retie. All right, well, that was a very anticlimactic start to the video. Another $20+ lure lost. And I know a lot of you guys probably type in the comments that you would take your clothes off and go diving for that lure. Maybe if it was like $100 lure, I would do that, but it's only like 20 something bucks. So that means the only lure we have left is gonna be the Berkley Nessie. And yep, it actually feels slightly lighter than that Dunkle. But as you can see, this is a glide bait, so the possibility of this thing catching air and not casting very well is very high. But I am gonna turn the brakes up just a little. And here we go with the Nessie. All right, so just to let you know, cranking in that Jackal Dunkle, even though it's only like a 7-inch lure, but for a paddle tail, it's pretty big. And for the monster Daybreak, it felt like there was nothing on the line. All right, I'm trying to check out the action of the Nessie. It seems to want to flip itself upside down. All right, let's keep on casting. So we're getting probably 25-yard casts so far. But of course, since this is a glide bait, there's also very little resistance cranking this in. All right. Now, dare I turn the brakes down? I do dare. I'm going to turn them down just a little. And we're going to try to get some distance out of this lure. Okay, with kind of a 3/4 overhead cast, had perfect spool control. Now with these heavier baits, since I'm not used to fishing them, the release point is going to take some work. But this Nessie, for those of you who were interested in one of these, they have like hard plastic fins, I guess, to stabilize the lure, keep it upright. But on some of the retrieves, the lure goes upside down, which could be a good thing if it's trying to mimic a injured fish. All right, so I'm getting more confidence in this rod and its ability to really heave out these 2-ounce baits. All right, let's go down on the brakes a little bit more. Ooh, that's the longest cast so far. I saw a couple of loops, very minor, during the middle of the cast, but this is how much line is left. Hope you guys can see. Remember, it says 15-pound monofilament. There is a crap ton of line left on this spool. I don't know if anyone doing, 100-yard or even 50 to 60-yard casts with a big bulky swim bait that has a lot of wind resistance. So I think that's a reason why over in Japan, one of the more popular swim bait reels, even for some of the bigger baits, is the Shimano BANTAM 150. All right, so we'll do a few more. Boom. So we're getting probably 30 yards on these casts. Now I do know there's a Swimbait by Shimano that's supposed to literally fold in half during the cast to let you really bomb really long casts out there. Fortunately, I don't have one. But yeah, the power of this monster DAYBREAK is insane. Man, this Nessie looks good in the water though. All right, we'll do a few more, and I'm gonna see if I have a spinnerbait in the car. I like to use spinnerbaits as a test of cranking power. But all right, I'm really gonna try to heave this cast out there now. Yep, still can only manage around 30 yards, maybe a little bit more. Now for all you swim bait guys that may be watching this, what line do you use when you're swim baiting? Do you use braid to fluoro? I would personally use straight up fluoro. Or do you use monofilament? Does the monofilament visibility scare these fish off? Keep seeing action over here. Well, that splash isn't going to attract any fish. Wish you guys could see, but the Nessie looks pretty good under the water. I still don't have the cadence yet to make it do those wide swing outs. All right, we'll do a couple more and then I'm gonna look for a spinnerbait. But casting is very smooth. The only thing I can feel is the line hitting up against the line guide going out. But yeah, you can get yourself an imitation Shimano Calcutta Conquest 200 for less than half the price. All right, one more. So yeah, I really can't manage to get this lure any further than around 30 yards. I'm sure with braid I could do it, but on the brake setting we're at now, which is right about here, we're looking at a few loops of overrun in the middle of the cast. So I don't want to go any lower, but let's see if I have a spinnerbait. All right, so I do have this one spinnerbait in the car. It's a cheap Ozark Trail from Walmart. It doesn't have the biggest blades, but it does have one willow and one Colorado. And I'm just curious to see if it provides any kind of cranking resistance for the monster DAYBREAK. I'll just turn the brakes up a little bit to be safe. Oh man. Just flung that swim bait out there like it was nothing. All right. So incredibly, this little cheap spinner bait provides more resistance versus that Jackal Dunkle 7-inch paddle tail that weighs 2.1 ounces. But for the Monster Daybreak, yeah, it's nothing. It's pretty effortless. And I'm gonna tell you guys a story. Now, back when the original DAIWA T3 came out, I had one in the extra high gear ratio. I think it was like 8.1 to 1. And I had that reel up against my 2013 METANIUM. And I was going back and forth between the two reels, casting a spinnerbait similar to this. And that T3 could not, I could barely even turn the handle like half a crank, and it was almost locking up. That reel had no power. Zero power. But the METANIUM cranked it in pretty easily. And that also was an XG. So when I looked at the gearbox size of the two reels, the METANIUM had a huge gearbox, while the T3 had a really, really small one. And even though they were the similar gear ratio in the 8s, that METANIUM had way, way more power. I'm telling you, I was shocked how weak that DAIWA T3 was. So it turns out this Monster Daybreak is easily handling normal bass lures, even though the spool is overkill in its line capacity. I mean, the spinnerbait is what, like half an ounce maybe on a rod that's rated from 1 to 4 ounces, but it's getting these casts out there. And I think to end the video off, I'm going to try to find the limit. Let's go out this way. Pow, all right. We're approaching 40 yards. So for those of you who like round reels like this, but the DK200 is just, I guess, has too much line capacity, there is also a DK150. And of course there's a DK100, which is a bait finesse reel. But I think if you're just doing regular bass fishing, regular bass lures, the DK150 is probably gonna suit you perfectly. Boom, that was over 40 yards. We're definitely on the limit of the brakes. Saw a whole bunch of overrun that worked itself out. But yeah, once again, DK200 Monster Daybreak. It is a bargain, and there's a link pinned at the top of the comment section to Don Coon Fishing where you can get yours with a flat tariff and shipping fee combined. That's really, really cheap. So if you want to get either of the DK round reels, go there. All right, guys, thanks a lot.